Austria's anti-immigrant Freedom Party is creeping closer to appointing its first chancellor after receiving an invitation by the nation's president to discuss forming a government. The development comes after efforts to form a centrist coalition collapsed and the Conservative Chancellor Karl Nehammer resigned. Let's get more with Bloomberg's Oliver Crook, who joins us with the details. What is the latest then, Ollie, in terms of the politics on the ground in Vienna? How did we get to what could be a pretty historic moment for Austria?
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. I mean, listen, remember, this is an election that took place back in September, and basically the winning party was Herbert Kickl, this Freedom Party, the far-right party here in Austria. They won the greatest number of votes, but they were effectively sort of firewalled out of politics because they were basically boycotted by the rest of the political establishment in Austria. So you had Karl Nehammer, who basically was the incumbent, who stayed on and to have power in power as chancellor, and basically began these negotiations that have been going on since September, Tom, between the center-right, the center-left, and the Liberals. The Liberals, then, the smallest party there, basically pulled the plug on those negotiations over the weekend. That led to the resignation of the chancellor. He also stepped down as the head of the party, and that created basically two possible outcomes for Austria. One in which they basically call new elections, fresh political sort of turmoil, and the second is that actually maybe now the far right is given a mandate. And so we will have the head of the Freedom Party meet with the president of Austria at 11 a.m. Today. That seems potentially now like the most likely outcome. But Tom, does this sound at all familiar to you, where basically you have a very ascendant far right across a country that is basically creating a huge problem for the political establishment that refuses to work with them, but increasingly basically cannot ignore that the influence that they're having, and adding to it, Tom, very weak economic growth, dealing with very sort of major budgetary issues. This is exactly what is going on in France. This is exactly what is going on in Germany, and there are echoes of this also in the Netherlands. This is basically the same exact play loop, the same exact movie playing out across Europe at a time, Tom, when Europe needs to really get its act together, work more collectively, and particularly these things are happening in Vienna, Paris, Berlin, but right here in Brussels is where they're going to have the effect, particularly when you have this commission trying to bring out these very ambitious plans of European competitiveness, trying to face off China and, of course, the new Trump presidency.